G, wait for it, delightful.
Check out the name tag. You're in my world now, Grandma.
What's up, nerds? So I finished the season finale of Stargirl for season 2, and I just have to say, this is a good show. I really do enjoy this show. I think that they do a top-notch job. Not every episode is like super stellar, but I think that they did a good job of balancing it out, because I understand like they have chosen characters that are very special effects heavy. You got Stargirl, and then now you got the Green Lantern and Thunderbolt. And I understand, and then you had Solomon Grundy in there, and you have all these characters, the Shade, that have these special effects powers. So I thought they did a good job of balancing it out and everything. And then I'm glad that they saved a lot of their budget for this final episode to showcase all of those powers, because I was happy that they did bring all these characters back. I mean, I pretty much guessed that they would bring them all back, but I'm glad that they did. I'm not sure. I'm not saying like I was like, like it was not like you couldn't have figured out, but I'm just saying I'm glad I was right on that, because it was good to see all of these characters come back. I do have some negatives about this episode, not in the sense that it was a bad episode, because it was a good episode. There's just some things that I'll talk about it more in my season 2 review, but I'll talk about it a tiny bit here, kind of. So why don't we get ahead and get started on this breakdown, and I'll just talk about my thoughts of the parts that go on while we do that. So it starts off, we're in town in Blue Valley with this eclipse going on at night. And so remember, Beth was at the Good America headquarters. I don't remember what it's called. Something America. And so she's she's sitting there talking to Eclipso as the little boy. I don't like the little boy Eclipso. I haven't liked it since the very beginning. I mean, like at the very first episode, he was the little boy when he tricked Dr. McNider's daughter. I guess that was fine, but I haven't liked it since then. I just don't like him as the little boy. Like, show him as, why didn't they just have the actor be like a human form of Eclipso instead of this little boy? I just didn't like it. Anyways, I didn't find it creepy. I just didn't like it. Anyways, so he's all like, I need you all here because I need to get what's her face, Whitney, to turn to the dark side because I need her. And he's like, you can see my true form. Now, I don't understand why her goggles aren't working correctly. Like, Dr. McNider is right there. Fix them. If they're broken, fix it. You can do it. You made them. I don't understand that. I don't understand why they don't fix it. Like, I get it. Visually, it's kind of cool. Like, he comes in and out like this and everything. Like, he's all like this and everything. But I'm like, just fix it, So then he's all like sitting there, and he's all like talking about how I've gotten all the people that are here. And he's like your parents. She's like, Mom, Dad. And they run in the next room, and they're stuck in this little vision of her yelling at them about how their divorce is their fault and they're ruining her life or some crap like that and everything. Here's my question though about this, and I feel like this was bad writing in the sense that they didn't think about this stuff. So her goggles make her see, like when the Shadowland was going on, Dr. McNider's goggles, he could see through all the nonsense, and he could see all that sandy stuff floating around. So why is it that Beth and Dr. McNider see this happening and they don't see through it, and I don't, but at the same time, I don't know. It doesn't even matter. By the way, I do like Beth. I like Beth like this, and I'll talk about that at the end of the episode when she confronts her parents a little bit. I do. I didn't like Beth season 1, and I didn't like her halfway through this season because I just felt like she was too whiny. But I do like this confident Beth. She comes across way better as a character for me personally. And I can't wait to see her going forward in season 3 for sure. And I'll talk about that in my season 2 review. So he's all like reveling in his, work. And I'm all like, I just don't like him as a little boy. I just don't like it. I know. You're like, get over it. I'm going to get over it. I would have preferred the actor. I don't remember his name that's playing Eclipso, but I would just prefer him as a human form, and anyways. So then she's, writhing around having that little vision, and she wakes up and she's all like, we have to stop Whitney from going because that's what Eclipso wants. And she's like, she's already gone. Should have had your dream sooner. And so they're walking through the streets and everything, and they see this portal open up. And as soon as I saw this, I was like, oh, he's trying to bring that shadow world to the real world and everything, which is what he's trying to do. So so then we go back to the shop, and Rick is trying to repair the hourglass that he broke because he's got a hot temper and he doesn't know how to control it. So he just breaks stuff and he can't fix it. So he gets a little upset. Then Zeke is trying to fix the robot. And he's like, yeah, my dad said as soon as the robot's fixed, we can come to the battle and everything. So then Zeke, it messes up, and Zeke's like, listen, I need a part that's almost non-existent. And so then they walk in, and there he is. He's like, oh, I'm so glad you came, kind of thing. And they're like, let's get him and everything. And so Pat goes and goes to help Beth. And they attack. And I really liked this. I know it's like, there's a lot of female centric stuff, but I do like these three ladies, this little action where she jumps up and then these two ladies do their little spinny, slashy thingies, whatever. Anyways, I thought this was a very good visual. I always like in movies and TV shows where you get that Justice League Avengers shot where they're all jumping. I love those shots. If you don't like those shots, you're crazy. Those are great. They're like so from the comic book kind of thing. Like you're just like they're taking a page from the comic book and just shoving it on the screen. So good. So he disappears. So then he keeps disappearing, and Whitney starts fighting him, and then he creates these illusions. The first one is for Black Panther, not Black Panther, Black Cat. Or Wildcat, Yolanda, she's fighting the original Wildcat. I don't remember his name. It doesn't matter. And then he creates this version of oh gosh, I can't think right now of their names. Civ. I'll think of her name in a minute. Cindy. No, yeah, Cindy Berman, of her as a young girl. And then they're all fighting. And then Pat has to face a version of himself as S.T.R.I.P.E. And I was like, this is kind of cool. But at the same time, I'm all like, whatever and everything. So they all start fighting each one. He tells her how she's not tough enough to be the new Wildcat, that, she's not good enough. And then Cindy's little version, she's like, I'm not scared of you, and she's like, oh yes you are, and everything. And I'm all like, I mean, I don't know, like I didn't think this actress as the young Cindy did like the best job. I know child actors can be a little, not the best, but depending on the child, but she did okay, but it wasn't the best in my opinion. It's like fine. So she defeats her, but they're still fighting and everything. And he's still doing her thing. And then Whitney's trying to stop him. She keeps blasting stuff. And she does finally and Pat beats up himself. and Dr. Midnight, like, you're Midnighters, like, you're okay, and everything. So then she shoots Eclipso, and he comes out of it and comes into his true form, which I like. I really like this look of Eclipso. They did a good job. I do feel like this is also a look that I feel like they pulled it straight out of the comic books. And I think that the show did a really good job with the prosthetics and the makeup and everything. They did a fantastic job, and the costume looks great in my opinion. If you don't like it, your loss. Anyways, so then they all are like fighting him, because they're like, or Cindy and him are fighting, and she's like, we need to use the staff because they usually use the light to stop him, kind of thing. But he's fighting these two, and it's a very good fight sequence. I enjoyed the fight sequences in this episode. I thought that the stunt choreography, whoever did it, I don't know, and I didn't look it up, but they did a good job, and bravo to them. I keep them on Stargirl show, because your show is definitely benefiting from their talents. So they get knocked out the window because Eclipse was like, I've had enough of this. And he knocks him into this courtyard. And then Rick kind of fixes the hourglass, but he's like, I can't do this in time, kind of thing. He doesn't say all this, but that's what I get from his facial expressions. Like, I'm not going to fix this in time, but I'm going anyways. And he's like, what are you doing? And he's like, did you fix it? And he's like, no. And he's like, Rick, come back. And he's like, I'm going anyways, and everything. So he brings out the part, and he's like, I called all these junkyards, but they're not open because it's late at night. There's no way this robot's going to be fixed. And Mike is all like, my dad told me as soon as the robot was fixed, we could come to the fight, but he knew it wasn't going to be fixed tonight. And he's all like, so then Uh, Thunderbolt shows back up and he's happy and everything. And so Eclipso jumps to the top of the clock tower and he's like, yes, and everything. He's like, yes, my work is almost complete and everything. So then, and then you hear this, and he gets knocked off that by the big robot. And he flies into this car. And then the kid that plays Mike, I don't dislike this actor. It's just the Mike character, in my opinion, is kind of annoying. Like, I don't care for him that much. But he's all like, oh, kiss my big robot butt. And I'm all like, yeah, you're a child, because this is not a good, that's not, I don't know. Anyways, his jokes suck. So then he's all like, Mike, and everything. This guy's eating all this Chinese food, which I bet is delicious. But he's all like, hit the big yellow button and get the saw going. So he gets the saw going, and then he attacks him, and he gets the flamethrower, and he's like, smoke him if you got him. I'm like, that's not funny. That's not a funny joke. Oh gosh, what is his name? He shows up with Thunderbolt, and he's like, I want you to electrocute Eclipse. I wish for you to electrocute Eclipse. So his wishes aren't that great, but it's like, whatever. So he's like, oh yeah. So he flies through Eclipse. So I don't know why he did that. Why wouldn't he just go and electrocute him like that? But they needed it for this, because they needed to take out Thunderbolt, like, so they didn't have to spend too much on special effects. So he flies through him, but Eclipso, he grabs him and he's like, uh-oh. And he like uses him to throw him into the robot and take him out. He takes the robot out. The robot's out of commission. He's like, oh, Mike, and everything. So then Eclipso goes to Jakeem, and he's about to, he jumps over there and he's like, ah, and everything. And he can't use his pen. I don't know why. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you're, can a demon take out a genie? I don't know what the rules are with this stuff. I like the magic portion of the DC universe very much, but I don't know all the rules, kind of thing. So then he's all like ready to take him out, and then he's like, hey, Eclipso, and he's all like, you have no super strength. How can you defeat me? And he's all like, oh, I got super strength, except this doesn't last only 24 hours. And then Solomon Grundy comes in and just takes him out. And he's like, ah, and everything. Everybody's doing ahs a lot. So then he goes and he starts fighting him, and he's just kicking the crap out of Eclipso. But Eclipso stops his punch here, knocks him back, and then blasts him right through the chest. Now, this was a good idea on the point of the show. And I like having Solomon Grundy around, just because he's such a good, like, he's such a fun character to have around. I personally think they should have done Solomon Grundy differently, but I'll talk about that in my season 2 review. But it's a good thing they took him out, because this is special effects money that they don't have to spend on this character. They've taken this character off the board now. So he did that, and then he's like, no, and he runs at him, but he takes him out in one punch. Back at the Berman home, they're like, we got to go. And somebody comes to the door. And as soon as they did it, I was like, oh, it's Starman. Duh. Because we saw him like 14 episodes ago, like episode 2 or something like that. So then Pat comes over to the robot, but he gets dragged away by Eclipso. And she's all like, put him down. And he's all like, ah, and she's like, no. And he's like, I'm going to twist his arm off until it pops off and everything. And then I'm going to do the other one. She's all like, tell me how you feel. How does that make you feel? And everything. He's like, say it out loud. She's like, I hate you. And he's like, oh, is that your O face? Oh. So he flies over and grabs her by the neck. And he's like, all this that I've done is to get you to just crack just a little bit, just a sliver, and let me in. And she got in. And then he takes and he just goes, he like invades her in a non-sexual way. That came out weird. He invades her. Anyways, he like puts his essence in her. That's coming out wrong too. That's not how I'm trying to say it. He's like a parasite. So anyways, so he's taken her over. He's possessed her. There we go. Cause he's a demon. Yay. Figured it out. He possessed her. And he's all like, oh, I have the power. The power is mine and everything. So he's opening up the portal a little bit more, whatnot. And then Beth's parents, the shadowy thing comes over him, and it's the Shade. I didn't like this part too. I thought it was very hokey and everything, but he's all like, oh, that bringing opening up the Shadow Realm was just the touch just the touch that I needed to juice up or whatever, get revived. And he's like, what was all that stuff in the theater with your death scene? He's like, oh, and he's like, oh, me saving your parents was just, a nice thing for me to do or some crap like that. And he's like, what was that? He's like, oh, Dr. Mid-nite, I have a touch for the dramatic, a flair for the dramatic. I'm like, get out of here. He's like, come on. That part was very like, I don't know. This part was a little hokey for me, but it was like, whatever. So then she's getting dressed and her parents are like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm a superhero now. Now, I will admit, Beth didn't do anything else in this fight. So I'm like, why are you suiting up? You're not doing anything. So, and Beth needs to learn how to fight. I'm sorry. She needs to. I'll talk about that season 2 review. Okay. So then these two are like, she's like, listen, we need to take Courtney out. We need to kill her. And she's like, no, we need to get the staff. We are not going to hurt her. You were wrong. We need to stop. We need to get the staff away from Eclipso. So they go to fight and they try to get the staff and they get knocked out. And she's like, that can only be one, like Highlander, only one. I have the power and everything. And he's like, or maybe two. So then they start fighting for the staff kind of thing. And even his line here, Pat's line, Starman and everything. I was like, come on, guys. So then they start floating. He's like, you have to get out. You have to, fight him because you're a good person. The staff chose you. The staff chooses. And then during that, Eclipse was all like, no one loves you. Your father left you and everything. And then she gets all these visions of her friends and how, they do love each other, not in a sexual way, just like a friend way. And, the staff did choose her because there was something about her that the staff, saw and everything. She saw all these good things. And then she fights Eclipse and he gets knocked out of her. And so he catches her. And so, then he gets shot. Sorry, I didn't grab a screen grab of it, but he gets shot by a couple of things. And then these people show up. What are their last names? That's Sportsmaster, the new Sportsmaster 2, and Tigress. And she's like, Cindy Berman called me. And she's like, I did. And they're like, okay, cool. And then they're all like, our daughter broke us out of prison. And I'm like, okay, calm down. Okay. Like, you guys aren't the best characters, in my opinion. And he's like, you'll never, he's like, I am forever. You will never really defeat me, kind of thing. And he's not lying. Eclipso, you can't, he's kind of like Mr. Mixoplex. You can't defeat him. Like, you can't completely destroy him, but you can stop him. So he's going to be around forever, but you can stop him. So, they're like, and then he's like, anyone that has the light, use your powers now while he's hurt or whatever. So Thunderbolt shoots, Green Lantern, I thought I grabbed a thing. Green Lantern shoots, and then so does Cindy and Starman, and they just blast him hardcore with the pink, the yellow, and the green. Woo woo. And so they're blasting him. And and before that, Jakeem was all like, turn this guy into toast and everything. So then he literally turns into toast. And everything. And they're like, well, what are you supposed to do? And Beth's like, well, at least we didn't kill him. And I just want to be like, Beth, you can't kill him. He's a demon. That's not how this works. Okay. The magic side of the DC universe is different from like the Justice League. Whenever they go up against a magical person, like they went up against Eclipso before, and it's, they can't just defeat him on their own. Like they need magical people to help because he is magical. That's why it was a little weird that they put him as a bad guy for this show, because I don't think in that they really would have been able to defeat him if this was real life. Because so they're like, and then Thunderbolt's like, it's a little burnt. So then they're sitting here talking kind of like, and Beth's like, I'm so glad we're together. And they're like, Yolanda, she's like, you're back, right? For good. And she's like, yeah, I'm back for good. Rick's like, I gotta go soon. I gotta do something. And he we'll see it in a minute, but he's gonna go bury Solomon Grundy, his friend. And then Jenny's like, yeah, I got to get out of here because she's going to go look for her brother, which we'll get into that in a little bit. Well, I'll also talk about that in my season 2 review. And then I'll try to do a season 4, what's next kind of view if I have time. Sorry, videos kind of are overwhelming at the moment. But so they're sitting here talking about Starman, and they're like, how is he back? And he's like, he said he would explain everything. And that's, I don't know the JSA. Like I have a couple of comic books of them, but I don't know the lore behind Starman. I don't know if he's died before in the comic books and that whole thing. So I would have to go and reread those / buy a couple more before I can really like tell you what's going on. So Starman's all like, I'm not here to get the staff back. The staff chose you. You're the new star person. So then they're sitting here talking, and he's all like, she's like, are you sure you don't want to stay? You can stay. And he's like, well, you're going to have your hands full with Starman kind of thing. And she's like, listen, I found, and he's like, I have to find my wife. She and Beth's like, I already found her. She lives in Indiana, somewhere in Indiana. And she's all like, did you know your wife was pregnant before you left, before you were put in the Shadowlands? And he's like, what? And she's like, yeah, you have a 10-year-old son. So she's like, well, what? He's like, we need it. She's like, we need a Dr. Mid-nite. And he's like, they have one. And he gives the bag to her, which I thought was good. And again, I hope Dr. McNider does come back in the future. But I'm glad that he passed it off to Beth. And I'll say this again. I like Beth, the new Beth, because before, when Beth was all like, oh no, what am I going to do? I didn't like her like that, because sorry, you can't be a superhero when you're sitting on the sidelines cowering. I'm sorry. That's not how superheroism works. But I do like her. I do like this confident Beth. I do like this, I'm a part of this team kind of Beth. And I hope going forward, she learns how to fight, that she gets in the game from now on. She just doesn't depend on those goggles as her just standing off to the side, being all like, turn to your left, he's on your left. And then, they hit the invisible guy with, because he's on their left or whatever. I really do hope that she, gets into the fight, literally. So then these two are talking, and he's like, yeah, my dad's saying as soon as we get this robot thing fixed, and he's basically talking about how, why don't we start our own team instead of joining the JSA. Now, I do like this only because my character is kind of annoying in my opinion. Jakeem, we really didn't get enough of him to really get a sense of him. But if I have to say right now, he was kind of annoying too. But I think that's because they're so like young / immature that I think that's probably why I didn't like them that much. But I do like them joining together and maybe starting their own team. I don't know if this is comic book accurate. I don't know the Mike character, if he's in the comic books at all. Jakeem is in the comic books. But I do like this idea of having a second team of even younger kids, maybe, and just maybe getting into their shenanigans. In fact, I think they should have their own episode next season, them trying to find somebody else, So then we get to this painting of the first icicle. And I just have to say, man, this is awful. That doesn't look anything like him. That doesn't look anything like Icicle. Like, I was all like, he looks old. Like, he looks like an old man. Like, maybe like President Carter or something like that. I was like, he looks awful. This kid did a bad job, but whatever. So he's sitting there looking at his painting, and he's all like, yeah, I did good here. I did good work. Yeah, he's like, yeah. And then his grandparents are like, you did such a good job, but we have to tell you, it's time to tell you about your family. And then they go all icicle-y, and I'm like, okay, cool. Then Yolanda comes out of church, and she's all like, what do you want? She's like, listen, she's like, I know Courtney isn't going to be okay with it unless I've got your say so. She's like, what are you talking about? She's like, I want to join the JSA. And she's like, what? And that's where they end that. I don't know if she does join the JSA in the comic books, just because, those aren't I haven't read too many of those comic books. I do have some. I should bust those out. It's hard to bust comic books out. I have like boxes of them and everything, and to go through that crap. Although I do organize them. It doesn't matter. Anyway, so he's bearing Solomon Grundy. The Shade shows up, and he's all like, listen, Solomon Grundy, he always comes back. It just depends on where you bury him, and that's true. Solomon Grundy is a living zombie. He's a zombie, basically. So he can come back, which I hope in the future, and I'll say this, I'm going to say this in my season 2 review, but I hope that they do bring him back, but they have a character dress up as Solomon Grundy, and then they just green screen that crap and just put him in there, because I feel like that would be a lot easier and cheaper than doing this full CGI Solomon Grundy. So then back at Beth's house, her parents have gotten super obnoxious and annoying. Like I liked them before. I did not like them in this scene because they're the new old Beth because they're like, oh, our daughter's a superhero. Oh, you're just so great. And the acting wasn't that great either. And he's like, oh, costume. What do you think about gold and black? Ooh, yeah. And everything. And like, oh, we could do this and this and this and everything. And then she's like, okay, guys, and everything. What about your divorce? Well, all this superhero stuff just rekindled our relationship kind of thing. And I'm all like, you guys are annoying. I don't like you at all anymore. I don't like you right now. You guys are annoying. And that's, I hope that she has a good relationship with her parents, but I just didn't like all this going on. So then these guys are having a conversation. Like they're like, oh yeah, the house next door sold. And she's like, yeah, it's my last day of summer school. And they're just trying to, hang out or whatnot. And the doorbell rings. Pat goes to answer it, and it's the psychos. How they are out of prison now is beyond me. Like, I'm sorry. Like, and they're like, we brought you blueberry muffins and everything. And I'm all like, you guys should still be in prison. You're still criminals. What is going on here? Like, just a little bit of realism, a tiny bit. And she's like, what the? And then that's where they end it. Then we go to the Helix Institute for Youth Rehabilitation. And we saw this like episode 7. I don't remember. And we get this nurse right here, and she's all like, Jenny, the Green Lantern. She's like, she came here looking for her brother, and instead she left with some friends. They went back to a town in Nebraska where it's a town full of superheroes and villains. And then the guy she's talking to, he's all like, superheroes and villains side by side in a town living together. This is a great experiment. Looks like we're going to Nebraska. Now, this is Mr. Bones, and he is a villain in the DC universe. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know anything about this character. When they showed him, now at first when they showed him, I thought it was a different character. And then I looked it up and I saw it was Mr. Bones. Now I know who they're talking about when they say Mr. Bones, but I don't know anything else about this character. I just, cause this is such a niche villain. Like when they brought up Eclipso in the season finale of Stargirl season 1, I knew who they were talking about. I was like, oh, I know Eclipso. I know stuff about Eclipso. I read comic books with Eclipso. I have a comic book where the Justice League fought Eclipso. I can tell you stuff about Eclipso. I can't tell you anything about Mr. Bones. I'm sorry. I will research it for my season 3 What's Next video if I get around to making it. I'm gonna try to. But I don't know very much about this character. I will tell you though, Keith David voiced him, Keith David voiced him. I love Keith David. He voiced Goliath in the Gargoyles series, and he's such a fantastic actor that it was a good choice. Like, I think when it comes to voice actors, I think there are certain people that are just so iconic, that like James Earl Jones as Darth Vader, just so iconic that you're just like, when you hear their voice, you may not know their name right off the top of your head, but you can definitely where their work is coming from. And Keith David, as soon as he started talking, I was like, oh my gosh, it's the guy that did Goliath from the cartoon Gargoyles from the 90s. Oh my gosh, and everything. And he was in a bunch of movies that I love too, but it doesn't matter. But yeah, so good choice on the voice choice. Overall, this was a good season finale. I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I loved the action sequences. I will talk about the one negative that I really have about this season in my season 2 review, but this was just a good season finale, you guys. And this show is a good show. I really enjoyed it. I enjoy this show. I'm happy that I like the character of Beth now because, and I like Courtney. And I really just overall, this season was a good season. Like season 1, it just really was good. And I just feel like when it comes to shows like Stargirl and Superman and Lois, these shows are getting it correct, and shows all the other shows are not. And I mean, you know, and it just goes to the writing. If the writing is there, then that's what makes a show really good. I mean, you know, if they didn't have any, they just picked characters that have no superpowers. If it's this kind of writing, then I would be for it. So that is my breakdown and review of the season finale of Stargirl season 2. Tell me, what did you guys think about this season overall? What did you think about this episode? What do you think about Mr. Bones? Are you a Mr. Bones expert? Please don't lie and say you are if you aren't. I can Google it if I need to. I don't need you to Google it for me. You know, I hate when people do that and everything. But who's your favorite JSA member on the team? I think for me, I think it's Yolanda. I really love Yolanda. She's such a, but I take it back. It's Courtney. I like Courtney a lot. She's a good character. I think she's a good character. But go ahead and leave all your comments in that section down below. If you like this video, go hit that like button. You know, I won't mind. If you're new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button, and I would greatly appreciate it. And I will see you guys on my next whatever. You guys have a good day. Bye.